Thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica Podcast. I am Mustafa Sharif, an urban planner, and you're more than welcome to join my big journey of exploring the making of smarter and more livable cities. Please don't forget to follow Urbanistica on the different social media platforms, and also let's connect on LinkedIn. Big thanks to Urbanistica podcast partner AFRY. AFRY is an international engineering and design company providing sustainable solutions in the fields of energy, industry, and infrastructure. Are you ready for a new episode? Let's go for it.
Hello, and thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica Podcast. Today we have a new story. We have great storytellers. I have the pleasure to welcome all of you, Harrie, Alex, and Natalie, to Urbanistica Podcast. Hello and welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Hello.
So happy to see you all. So let's start with like a presentation round, so our listener will be familiar with who we are. So let's start with you, Harrie.
Thanks so much for having me. My name's Harrie Notton. I am currently acting co-chief exec of WeAreWaterloo BID and head of marketing and strategy.
Welcome. And Alex.
Hi, good morning. Alex Butts. I am acting co-chief exec alongside Harrie and head of public realm for WeAreWaterloo.
Yes, and we have Natalie in Barcelona, right?
Hola, buenos dias. Hello. I'm Natalie, Chief Executive for WeAreWaterloo. I am currently on maternity leave here in Barcelona.
Yeah, and tell me, like, what are you passionate about? We start with you, Natalie. What is your passion?
Sure. I'm passionate about being part of seeing the change around me. For example, with BID projects, because they can happen so quickly, public art projects, events, and those sorts of things, to be able to think of something and then put pen to paper and then actualize it in a 2-week, 2-month process. That's what excites me the most.
Yeah. And how about you, Alex?
Alongside the BID projects, of course, I think I enjoy our approach to creating like a people-focused place, moving away from those that want to move through an area quickly to those that want to actually spend time within the area and make the most of that place.
And Harrie?
Mine is very similar to Alex's, and I'll talk about it later, but I'm very into people-focused marketing and community-centered kind of marketing, which I will discuss later on, I think.
Yeah. So tell us more about WeAreWaterloo, Harrie. What is it about? What is your mission?
Sure. So WeAreWaterloo is a business improvement district, or a BID, located in Waterloo, London. Our mission is, I suppose, to create a head-turning destination for people to work, live, study in. We shine a light on what is uniquely surprising about our destination in comparison with our neighbours via kind of lots of events, lots of public realm improvements, area promotion. And I think we really go above and beyond to try and bring the business community and the wider community together.
And Natalie, would you like to give us more history?
Sure. So BIDs are actually celebrating 20 years in the UK, and WeAreWaterloo, we're just shy of that. We were 19. So we were one of the first BIDs that began here not here, but there in the UK. We were part of a pilot of 5 BIDs. And what's interesting about WeAreWaterloo, because BIDs are funded by businesses in a defined geographic area, the people that came up with the idea for WeAreWaterloo, the original founders, it was actually community members and not just business members. So I think that that's been a cornerstone of our organization since day one. We've always been a very community-focused BID, but we'll be celebrating 20 years next year and going for renewal for another 5 years shortly.
Wow. I think this is how to say. This is the magic where the magic starts, like from the community. It's like more bottom up.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's definitely been maintained.
Yeah. And Alex, would you like to tell us more about like the team and more about?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're a small team, a management team of 7, got an operational team of 3, and we also run Lower Marsh Market, where we've got a distinct management team of kind of 1.5 and an operational team of 2 there. We're based right now in Build Studios, so this is a co-working space for exclusively for built environment professionals that was set up by a business improvement district a number of years ago, 10 years ago or so. Something like that.
Let's go with 10.
It's about 10. It was run by former chief exec of the BID, Helen Santer. And yeah, ourselves as an organisation, we represent a distinct geographical area in Waterloo. So we're kind of to the south and to the east of Waterloo Station. We have about 450 businesses that pay into our organisation, that pay a mandatory levy. And the area kind of spans from sort of the north area, kind of hidden gems such as Rupel Street, through Lower Marsh and the cut where we've got the old Vic Theatre, the young Vic Theatre, TfL's headquarters and the headquarters of the London Ambulance Service, then all the way down to St George's Circus, London South Bank University and the Imperial War Museum.
The centre of London.
The very centre of London.
Yeah, also a lot of actors involved in these businesses.
Yeah, it's a busy role. I think we all have busy roles. We're kind of in demand a lot, having that number of levy payers that we have to support. But yeah, we wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. And let's explore like the BID together and talk about what is it, challenges, projects you work with, and so on. Natalie, would you like to tell us what is BID? Like explain it and simplify it to us.
The way I always describe it is we're the people that do the things that people think automatically happen. For example, when you walk around the streets, and originally BIDs, one of the cornerstones of BIDs was the hanging flower basket. So you just see that and think, oh, that's there. Of course that's there. But there are people behind it making it happen. So like I said, BIDs have been in the UK for 20 years, but they actually started in Canada in the 70s, and then they went over to the US shortly thereafter. They don't exist everywhere, and they're kind of conduits in between community businesses and local governments. They're always formed through kind of different active members, sometimes business owners, sometimes, like in our case, community members. But it's when a group of people think, okay, this area needs more investment. So they do a bunch of kind of lobbying, petitioning, and bada bing, bada boom, you've got a BID. So eventually what happens is all of these business members within a defined geographic area agree to pay an extra tax annually. And that tax goes to local government and then goes back to an organization like ours to then be reinvested into the area. And that's done through a whole wide range of programs. A lot of BIDs have slogans like eat, work, play, dine, safe, green, like this kind of three tagline slogans. So the BID model has definitely evolved throughout the years as we've taken on more, but hopefully that gives kind of an idea of what these organizations are for people who don't know. You actually have them in Sweden as well.
Yeah, also, yeah. But like, how to say, do we always need a BID or no?
It depends. It depends on what's going on in the community. I think BIDs are able to kind of help enliven and enrich an area. And it really does require lots of kind of cooperation and coordination through the different actors. It's essential for BIDs to have good relationships with community, businesses, and local government. So I wouldn't say, even though I've been a BID professional for the past decade, I can't confidently say every place needs a BID, because it depends on the level of investment that's already taking place in the area and what the desires are for the community. It's not a good idea to force a BID on a place, because then you're going to get kicked out.
Yeah, that's true. So what is like the relationship between placemaking and BID?
The relationship between placemaking and bid is going to vary because bids, like I said, previously they kind of focused on, but Harrie, what is it? Like eat, work, live, play green, clean, green, safe.
Safe, yeah. That clean, green, safe is the most obvious one I think that comes to mind.
Yeah. And so the bid model has really evolved. And we worked with, 2022? We worked with Allies and Morrison, an architecture and design firm, to create our placemaking strategy. And when we started doing the bid circuit and presenting it at different bid conferences, people were like, I would have never thought to take the lead on that. Wow, isn't that a council's job? But we wanted independence and we wanted to be able to kind of run our own projects. So we decided to pursue it, whereas normally it would kind of fall to the hands of the council. But whereas we wanted to do something in 3 months, if it was in the hands of the council, it would have been 3 years or 300 years.
Yeah.
TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. And Alex, would you like to tell us more about the public realm improvements?
Yeah, I mean, so from the placemaking strategy, we were handed over around 150 projects, some of which were in the public realm, some of which are events and marketing based. But as Natalie said, being quite a small organization, quite a nimble organization, we're able to get stuff done fairly quickly. Within the strategy itself, there was a clear scale of action to influence stuff that we can get on as a bid and do quite quickly, those kind of cheap wins, that sort of tactical urbanism approach, versus the influence where it's a longer term strategic conversation that may take a little bit more time, hopefully not 3 years, but occasionally. So some of those projects, where it's within our gifts to get stuff done, a lot of it is around that kind of clean, green, safe. The green in particular is quite important for our area. Waterloo and South Bank has disproportionately low level of canopy cover. I should definitely correct that. And greening is really key for us. So we introduced parklets, pocket parks. We turn like our old market carts, which used to be where traders would sell their wares from, we turn those into planters. We work with local organizations to access grant funding to plant trees locally, all with a very short kind of sort of program timeline. We want to get this stuff done really, really quickly.
Yeah.
So we implemented kind of community gardens. We work with the local residents to plant up areas of kind of green that they would like planted. And then obviously really important to that kind of greening is the maintenance. You can't just, and as often happens, you can't just implement something and then just see what happens. You have to take responsibility for it. So we have our own greening team and cleaning team who make sure that all of the green infrastructure that we put in the area is of really high quality. So those are kind of our really easy, light, fairly cheap wins is improving greenery throughout Waterloo.
And you mentioned that you get things done quickly. Like what is the secret? How do you get it done quickly?
Apologize later.
We always ask permission, and everything we do has permission. It's working closely with partners, especially those that hold the permission, making those relationships and essentially building trust, making sure that they know that whatever it is that you're going to do, it's going to have longevity, it's going to be of high quality, it's going to provide benefit to the area. It's not a random idea that you've got that's not grounded in any kind of any sort of logic. And having the place strategy behind us to showcase why we're doing stuff is a really valuable tool. So yeah, we've all been working at WeAreWaterloo for about more or less kind of 5.5, 6 years.
Yeah.
So in that time, we've been able to build that kind of level of trust in those relationships with those that we need permission from. And then every so often we just go ahead and do stuff. But it is.
Yeah.
It is. And that's founded strategy, founded community engagement. So,
But Harrie, tell me, because in this equation now we are building, like we have businesses, organizations, city, and so on, different stakeholders. Where are the community in this equation, and how active are they?
We are, the Waterloo area has a very active community, which we embrace. And I would say that as a BID, we are not a faceless organisation. You know, when Alex and I are in the office is typically visiting business owners, having a coffee at our local community centre and speaking to, you know, a local resident who's managed that for sort of 50, 60 years, you know, very aware of the community's kind of grievances or things that they'd like us to support them with. And that's through getting off your chair, leaving the laptop behind for a little bit and actually going out to speak. I think one of the biggest learnings for me with community engagement is don't expect them to fill in a survey. Don't expect them sometimes to come to an event. You've got to go to them.
Yeah.
You know, you really have to go to the community to understand what they need. And I actually do think, you know, it's very easy to type an email. Yeah, it means more to them if you go and bring them along the journey. So if there is a big kind of a greening project or something, Alex will usually do quite a lot of engagement with local residents, and that's above and beyond what is expected of BIDs. You know, we're the businesses pay a levy, so they are essentially who we are accountable to, but that doesn't work in placemaking. So I would say, yes, we have quite a large free events program. And I say free because, again, We Are Waterloo wouldn't want to be putting on an unaffordable event in our BID area. That's just not in keeping with our values. And I'm really excited to announce that this financial year, we're hoping to launch a microsite called With Waterloo we have a lot of charities in the area as well as businesses. And businesses are always saying, how can we support the charities on our doorstep? How can we support the primary schools? How can we support the food bank? And usually it's Alex and I typing an email saying, let me introduce you to so-and-so. And actually that's a lot of our time up. So what we're hoping is we have a dedicated microsite that will kind of match make businesses with charities. It will kind of take us out of the conversation a little bit and let them have a dialogue together. So again, quicker kind of engagement. I think we'll still be able to sort of dive into the analytics and see whether it's successful, which is really important for monitoring. But for them just to be able to crack on and support with donations, volunteers, takes us out of the equation. And I'm really looking forward to that being a kind of big win for us this year.
Yeah.
For the community directly.
And Harrie, we listened to Alex. He told us about that, building this relationship and trust. How do we do that with the community? Because I also work with community engagement and so on, and not everything community wish for happens. So there is also like this part of that they can't get everything they wish or they want, but we have to we need to still keep this good relationship. So how do you do that?
Honest communication and set your boundaries and limitations. We would love to do everything. We don't have the money to do everything. That's, you know, there isn't a bottomless pit. We can sort of say and advise them on certain grant funding opportunities. And Alex, I mean, spends some time sort of writing up grant funding applications for community groups. So again, it's being visible, but it's kind of letting them know how much we can get involved and, you know, not letting them get carried away with certain expectations. You know, we're able to do this, this, and this. We might need to put you in touch with the council, or we can advocate and lobby for you. Lobbying is a big part of what we do during COVID. It transformed relationships with our local community groups and business owners. We were the conduit organisation between, you know, large municipalities, councils, and getting funding to those organisations. So it really helped, I think, build trust. Like you say, they saw us as we can't reach the council, but actually the BID, they're there for us all the time. And so we were able to kind of foster better communications and get them grants quickly. You know, even things like Alex will go and listen and, you know, you support them with pavement license applications. There's all manner of things I think we can sort of try and pivot our services where we hear that there is a great need. But I would say, yes, being visible and setting boundaries is probably the most important thing when connecting with communities and being present. You know, I think today we're here early morning, but we're going home sort of later because we're having a meal with, you know, a business owner to discuss challenges and the impact of a project that he's going to get involved with. So, you know, be as visible as you physically can be, I think.
Another good example that illustrates that, when we launched our placemaking strategy, it separated up Waterloo, not separated, but it designated 3 different kind of distinct areas that have sort of looks and feels. And one of them was called the Rupel Street Conservation Area. And that was kind of charming and historic. And there is a neighborhood association, all of the owners in that area. And these aren't necessarily levy payers, the people that, pay the extra taxes to fund our organization. But we had, 10 or 15 projects out of the 150 projects recommended for this area. So instead of just, hitting the ground running with those projects, we held an event, and all of our events always have food and drink, because that's as we've learned, that's the Waterloo way and the best way to get people out. So, we bring people out, we show our 15 projects and say, what do you guys want? It's up to you. Like, we have some funding, you have some funding. Yeah. It's this is your turf. Tell us. And they did. And they really appreciated that, because we had another 135 projects to crack on with. So if they could just have that direct communication with us, and they say, oh, we'll take number 2, 7, and 4. So you'd be like, okay, great, we'll get started. So it was very black and white.
Yeah. So if I understand correctly, it's more about like being there in person and just talk and have a conversation, instead of like hiding behind like digital platforms, emails, and so on.
Exactly that. Not the Waterloo way, Natalie said. Regular opportunities to engage and meet, and after hours going to tenant and residents associations. Natalie said neighbourhood forums. Like, you will always catch one of us at one of those.
Yeah. And Harrie, tell me more about the IPM, the Place Marketing Steering Group.
Yes, so I was chuffed to be asked to chair a kind of a working group for place marketing across the UK. We have about, I think it's sort of 20 bids on that, from north of the UK to south, east to west.
Wow.
And we get together and we discuss kind of things that are working for us, but also really importantly, challenges that you may have in the marketing landscape. It's very niche what we do as bids in terms of place marketing. We don't have big budgets of councils. We aren't Visit London. We are small organisations. I think that's actually really useful.
Why?
Because my big thing is, especially for Waterloo, you get results from place marketing when you're authentic. I think gone are the days of like Instagrammable food and kind of a big picture of the London Eye getting loads of likes. What people want when they visit a place or when they are going out for dinner is authenticity, and Waterloo has that in abundance. How we navigate kind of our channels and our marketing kind of strategy is, as I say, people first. Put the community at the front and center of your channels, and that authenticity goes viral. So, for example, I have an elderly grandmother who lives in Waterloo, and we take her out, and she shows off her favourite places in Waterloo to get a full English for under £6, or we take her to a quirky cocktail bar and have her sit on a seat. And I think that people feel safe with Nanny Pat kind of giving her the version of Waterloo.
Yeah.
And honestly, compared to a picture of a meal, she goes viral every time. People are like, oh my God, I've got to go there. Nanny Pat says it's great, and I've got to go there. She's become kind of a mascot, like a football mascot.
Yeah.
And when the first kind of meeting I came to the marketing group was, who are your local characters? Who are the people? People make place. Who are your people? Put them front and center of your marketing campaigns. And then we took that one step further when we were offered some free advertising space at Waterloo Station. I thought, okay, what can we do? We wanted to put kind of quirky, eccentric characters from Waterloo and put them put them in a location that may not work. So, for example, Nanny Pat is holding 2 spray cans, graffiti cans, and we put her as like doing a bit of tagging in Waterloo's legal graffiti arch. Okay. So imagine my elderly grandmother kind of spray painting. Yeah. The tagline was like, Waterloo, who knew? You might have no idea. And then later kind of doing tricks in front of the Imperial War Museum. We had a famous cabaret performer having a full English, in a kind of greasy spoon bus cafe. I think that juxtaposition really worked. And I really do believe, don't invest in pretty pictures anymore. Speak to your people and have the tour guides, and that will just work. in abundance.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, and then we had Liverpool bid say, do you know what, we're going to do a grandma kind of walk around with people who know the place better than anyone. And I wonder how that's gone. I'll have to ask them. But yeah, it's an amazing opportunity to get together and kind of work on, as Natalie said, 20 years of bids. What can we do as a group to kind of really push that message? Again, bids are known by bid world, but to the outsiders looking in, you may have only really come across bids when you're paying the levy, or if you work for a local council, or it's how can we promote what we do? Because we're agile, we're flexible, we can get things done, turn around an advertising campaign in the station in a couple of months. Whereas, like Natalie said, councils, it will go brief to this department, to that department, to that department. And in bids, we know our place so well, It's a match made in heaven for place marketing anyway.
Yeah. And I think to comment, like, I think people are tired of this visionary, super polished images and pictures and all this campaign. As people just want like to see humans, like just normal people without this extra fancy pinky life,
That's the thing. Whenever you go to a place, you want to know where the locals go.
Yeah.
You want to know about like the real heart of what that place is. You can do all of the touristy stuff, and you have to do it to show your family that you went to that place. But in actual fact, you don't really want that as the experience. You want, the authenticity.
Of
people.
Yeah.
And we're fortunate in that that's what Waterloo has. It is a real London for Londoners. We've got a huge array of independent businesses, and that kind of the engagement piece we were talking about earlier. If you're running your own kind of small business, you don't have the time to invest in filling out a survey or seeking us out. We have to seek out a small business to support them. But yeah, I think going back to it, I think if you're looking for a place, you do want that authenticity, and that's kind of what comes through within the place marketing.
And Harrie, about marketing, how, like when you plan a campaign or something, how do you know that this will fly, this will get like a good attention? Because maybe sometimes we think this is a good joke or this is a nice way of telling a story, but then the audience will not really receive it as how we think. So how can we find that, okay, this is going to get a good...
You do not set out for something to pop. You don't set out for something to go viral, I don't think. I think it's okay to sort of trial and error with certain marketing campaigns. Probably not the advertising campaign in the station, but I think we knew what we wanted to do. And as Alex said, you have this placemaking strategy now that is like, okay, here is what we believe you have to do because the community said they want this. You kind of absorb. They gave me some really good marketing and place branding sort of tips with, the community had said it's, Waterloo as a place isn't vibrant, it's not fun, it's kind of grey, you need to do more on this. So actually I had the plan of like, okay, we can push the letter, we can create, advertisements that are colourful and exciting and can be a bit tongue-in-cheek because that is what we are as a place. So I was bound in strategy. But I think with TikTok, for example, and Instagram and things like those kind of social place marketing on socials, it's always the strangest thing that just goes viral.
Yeah,
and then
you
have what's viral once. You have a kind we knew that I was going to say Natalie, no, that Nam went viral, and so we had interspersed with other bits and bobs that you just trial and error sort of campaigns and ideas. We brought her back, and every time we did, it did really well. So I was like, okay, if we're ever in a bit of a slump, Nanny Pat does like the walking tours of the area. She knows it. I think have fun with it. Honestly, again, as bids, we have a board that are accountable to, as long as they're happy with me saying, hey, I'm going to go, take drag queens around Waterloo dressed as ABBA, and we're going to sing, Waterloo at loads of times to sort of shout loud about Eurovision coming.
Yeah.
As long as people are happy with it, I'm going to give it a go, and then I'm going to see what works. And that specific piece of content we took for kind of drag queens who were dressed up as ABBA all around Waterloo and sang Waterloo and got involved, resonated with the community. It's been our best piece of content since I started at the bid, without any money being pushed into it. So I think outside the box, definitely.
I think we're an organization that can take risks.
Yeah.
Like that's what our board made up of local businesses want. They want us to take calculated risks, but ultimately they want us to deliver stuff. They're paying their levy for a reason. Levy invested in the area, and they want it invested the sooner the better, to drive footfall, to drive kind of economic within the area. So there's no point us, setting out really long-term kind of strategies from a bid point of view. They're the conversations we want to be involved in, but we need to deliver stuff. We need to kind of take those risks. And because we're a smaller organization, the costs are lower, we can afford to take that risk and, provide proof of concepts, take it to the council for larger investment, but also see what works, see what doesn't work. Just give things a go.
We ran the advertising campaign Harrie was referring to. It was sort of V2 of one that we had originally run that definitely pushed boundaries right off the heels of our placemaking strategy. So we were trying to kind of focus on our hidden gems, this thread of hidden gems in the area, and ripping off of those kind of t-shirts and campaigns where you have a bunch of words crossed off. And for example, we have this enchanting street in our bid area called Isabella Street, where it's all like tropical and rainforest and all these like fabulous Thai and Middle Eastern tapas restaurants. And so for the campaign, we did like Ibiza cross off, Marbella cross off. What else? Mykonos cross off. Isabella Street. So we were very cheeky, and we wanted to be eye-catching because kind of this, you get it, right?
Yeah. And I think like being closer to the community and local, then like what will the kind of marketing you do, if this will go viral or people will get it or people will love it and so on. So it's also, I think, one of key elements that being close to the community and understand how they think, what they like, and so on.
Exactly that. And I think also work with your businesses, your business community who have a big reach. If you collaborate with, we have a shop, a very interesting kinky fetish shop in Waterloo. And we collaborate with them on an event for Valentine's Day. And the event sold out in 20 minutes because they shared on their social media, which is unheard of. Does take a bit of a push, but it was okay. The place is you are the place. People are coming for you. And I think before we don't have a huge team, as we've said, and we've tried to sort of plug every single calendar high with an event of our own. Actually, partnering and sharing with others who have a bigger reach than us is very small. So actually, use others' connections and others' kind of channels that do well, because people are coming to them for a reason. They're coming to your area to see them. So that's been a really big for me.
Exactly. And I think like it shows the realistic image of a place. Like if you involve the businesses or the organization who are actually there and not only like your organization. Because this is what people are going to experience, like different stakeholders, different experiences and so on. And with BID, there are challenges as well. And I like to hear more what are the challenges that you're facing?
Challenges for us. So being a UK bid, so we have 5-year terms. So every 5 years, every business that pays an extra levy has a vote as to whether they want the bid to continue or not. That in of itself, fortunately for us, isn't too much of a challenge. We received a really good kind of mandate at our at the last ballot that we went to in 2021. I think the problem that creates is the kind of long-term versus short-term change. So that we have to continually think in these 5-year cycles. So it makes the long-term planning a little bit more difficult. We can't necessarily invest or allocate funding for longer-term projects because that 5-year short-term chunk is all that we've really got to deal with. We're obviously, really heavily involved in longer-term conversations, such as the Waterloo Station Master Plan that was recently launched kind of 2 weeks ago from time of recording. But yeah, so we'll sit in on those conversations, but we'll kind of try and shape where that goes. But in terms of investment, in terms of what we can offer, it has to be focused on that short-term delivery. So it's a really, that the 5-year term is a really important way of regulating bids and making sure that we deliver value, and that we don't get complacent, and that money doesn't sit in a bank and we are those kind of delivery agents. But it presents longer-term challenges as to how we shape, how we influence kind of a longer-term picture of our area.
Mm-hmm. And how detailed is this, like 5 years of plan or strategy needed to be?
I can answer that. So and this is different in the US. I worked at a bid in New York also. And with the bids in the US, New York at least, once you're in. You don't have to go for these 5-year renewals. But in the UK, every 5 years you have to run, but you're not running against anyone or anything. You're just running either to continue or to collapse. So you have to create a 5-year plan. Every year you have to create annual business plans, but you have to create a 5-year plan that's sent out to every single one of your businesses. We have about 450 businesses. And then, as if it's a mayoral election or a local leader election, they all have to vote. So they submit a vote through the local council, and you have to spend a year or so beginning the legislative process of getting everything in order and prepared, and communicating with the council and all the businesses, and making sure that you're answering all their concerns and that everybody's on board with your 5-year plan. And then you sit and wait and hope for the best.
Is it good to have this 5 years period, or should it be changed somehow?
Different bids have different opinions about this. I think having a period is a good thing, because it sort of reinforces a level of accountability with organizations. I think it encourages probably an increased level of engagement and communication between the bids and the businesses. But it is difficult to do it in 5-year terms, because first of foremost, like what Alex mentioned about not being able to long-term plan, and also we're only 7 people. We have a budget of about £800,000, so we have to spend a full year doing an extra sort of bid project that's just a continuation of our survival. Whereas if we were slightly longer, we would be able to spend the time, resources, and energy working on extra greening projects, extra marketing projects. So if I had to choose one or the other, I think it is a good thing, but maybe there's a bigger conversation to have about what the length of terms involved.
I think there's something there are a couple of conversations kind of brewing within sort of the bid world at the moment as to kind of length of periods that a bid can exist for. Funding models as well is quite important. We obviously, not obviously, but we're funded through a percentage based on rateable value, council tax of a business. And there's conversations happening around, is this the right model? Is this fit for purpose? Should there be more devolved funding from local authorities? So you go from government to council, and bids are kind of seen as a distinct entity in their own right, and kind of recognize a little bit more what we do, especially in terms of that value, rather than it's just a case of continuing to devolve funding from a council to a place, and you would find more value in that. But yeah, lots of interesting conversations about how bids are set up and how they operate and how their funding are kind of happening at the moment. And like Natalie said, if you go to the US and Canada, there's different models there. The Netherlands, has a very different system. I'm not sure what it's like in Sweden, but yeah, wherever your place is, there's a different kind of model. And I think still 20 years is still quite a young age for an industry. I think we're still figuring out what the best approach is.
What are the other challenges that you're facing when it comes to working with this type of projects?
I think we have a great working relationship with our councils. So we are split between 2 boroughs, Lambeth and Southwark. Sometimes, though, Alex mentioned kind of, and Natalie, our flexibility and the kind of agile approach to our projects. Sometimes we have an amazing idea, And sometimes it's slightly harder to push that through kind of, you know, sort of the council has many different layers of process to approve something. For me, for example, for an event, I'd like to think, oh, I've got an amazing idea for an event.
Yeah.
It's going to really benefit the community. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And then you'll have a conversation and it'll get, you know, you pushed around many different departments before finding out, you know, really close to the line, okay, you're approved, or, you know, we always are approved in the end. So sometimes that can be challenging. But as I say, I honestly think the COVID period helped us just really create fantastic relationships with our councils.
Okay.
We have weekly meetings. We can lobby and advocate for our community and businesses every week if we wanted to, you know, following conversations with them. So it's not so much a challenge, but more of something you've got to bear in mind. We can't just have an idea and run with it. You do have to sort of, you know, go begging sometimes.
The thing that Harrie and I say about engagement, when we're meeting a new business, we ask them to come to us basically with every problem that they've got. And if we can't solve it ourselves, let's always find the person that can solve it. So we can kind of unpick, you know, unpick the local authority, unpick the local area, and introduce them to a person that can solve those problems. Sometimes it's tricky for us to do that even ourselves, but
and we make a word for our own back there, because sometimes you become kind of a business's support system. Sometimes they rely on you, or they ask of you so many things, and you just want to help in as many ways as you can. But we have about 450 businesses to after. So we're sort of, you know, again, let's put a boundary in place and see what we can do. As Alex said, always try and loop into a service provider, if not answer that question and solve things ourselves. But we do like to solve, don't we? We do try.
Like to solve,
What do they ask? Like, give us some examples of what businesses ask you.
Okay.
The ones that come through me will be about sort of licensing stuff, planning stuff, the really glamorous world of recycling and bins, just stuff to do with kind of cleaning, graffiti removal, you know, and like I said, we're kind of fortunate that we've got our own team that can get rid of, you know, a certain level of graffiti, and then kind of the council wants to get rid of another level on top of that. Like those are key ones. You know, we have requests from charities to, you know, get rid of 400 chairs
sometimes.
Oh, wow.
One really good thing though. So sometimes they say, Harrie, can you do our social media for us? Or, you know, can you support us on social? I can't do that for them personally, but we have an agency who can promote their business on our behalf, on our page. And from listening to kind of businesses say what they need, we are now going to be working with a company called Seedle, who provide free training for all of our businesses. So that is going to save a lot of money, because some of them need, you know, hospitality businesses, health and safety kind of training, mental health in the workplace training, you know, digital marketing training. I think Seedle is at over 100 courses, and we'll front the cost, and then any member, any business, any member can just have access to digital free online learning. And I think that is another one of us saying, okay, we can't possibly do this ourselves, but hey, we've got an answer for you. And that comes from that kind of listening approach that we take. Yeah.
I'm curious about, like, because you're 7 people on the team, if I understand correctly, and then you're dealing with more like 400 plus different businesses or organizations. Like, where do you have like a platform for all of these, or how do you document, how do you facilitate and manage all of this amount of businesses?
There's a fantastic software called Monday.com. We do have kind of, I'm working with the councils, we have lists of ratepayers, and we have, like, you know, a CRM system where we, after an engagement meeting, we'll pop down kind of who we spoke to, what they wanted, you know, we have kind of a system for that. We can then split them by street, as in split the businesses by street. If we need to speak to all the businesses within a certain geographical area, we can do that, or by sector. So that's kind of our approach. We have monthly engagement meetings where we discuss new businesses coming in. So the council will send us reports about new people moving in. So then me and Alex can go, that's a ground floor business. We need to go and get our tote bags and our water bottles, go and like give them some goodies and explain what we do. So you get them on our new comm strategy approach is kind of get them as soon as they move into the area, so they know exactly who you are.
Yeah.
They're not waiting for the bill to be like, who are these people? We've already acknowledged. So I'd say that's probably how we maintain kind of knowledge of who these people are.
Yeah.
But some of those is you have one contact, and it'd be great because then that, you know, if it's a landlord as a levy payer, they're responsible for lots of offices and a, you know, combined office. So, you know, one message that hopefully sometimes is disseminated, sort of like that.
Yeah. And if we talk about, because we have listeners from 140 countries, of course, BID are different in different countries, depends on the system, on the city, and local businesses. But if you like, from your perspective and experience, what are the key elements that makes a BID successful? And we can start with you, like Natalie. What do you think are keys for this kind of projects?
I think not being afraid to change, because
change what?
Your projects and services. For example, when I started, we didn't have any external cleaning and greening operatives. We didn't have a safety team. And so throughout, like they mentioned, we've all been in post about 6 years. And so listening to our board and the requests coming in from our community, we ended up really fortifying and building out these programs and services to the point where we have a full-time in-house security manager, and he has a set of operatives that he works with as well. So being able to kind of flow with the needs of what's the community and what's going on around you, and not just being stuck in a silo of this is a BID, this is what I'm supposed to do, you know, call it a day. So having that fluidity.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to say about like passion for the place, because if you really enjoy your area, I think that it translates, and like you'll find a better way of doing things, and you want to push projects on further. And there's more than just kind of the sort of day to day, you know, I've got to come in and do this. If you really believe in your area and you think, you know, it could be that little bit better, then I think that is kind of like an unquantifiable element within a BID, and you can get that feeling from other BIDs when they really care about their place.
Okay.
So we went to Bradford, which is City of Culture 2025. Met their team, had a really insightful walk around, and you can tell they've got this factor of real passion for their place that they really want to drive it forward.
They packed so much into the day that they didn't even have a lunch break, because they were just wanting to show up, reduce us to everything. That was like, they were so excited to show us that their area and things that were happening, the changes that were happening. You know, it was a full-on day in the best possible way. We came back with so much learning. And I think to Alex's point about passion for a place, understanding why you're coming to a placemaking strategy is such an amazing way of then harnessing that belief. You know, you've then got loads of projects, and you have a firmer understanding of how people are using the place, what they like it, and it helps in all elements from then putting that into a public realm improvement plan to marketing the place. I think passion plus kind of, you know, an understanding, a deeper understanding of navigate, how people navigate is another great thing.
That came through in another piece of work that we did after the placemaking strategy. We did a brand strategy, and at the time it was like the whole team working with a external brand strategist, and it came to light. It was something that we all knew about each other, but that you know, each member of our team is a Waterloo evangelist. And we all are so passionate about the area in different types of ways, and, you know, combined to be this, you know, mega force. So we said, how do we grow this? How do we evolve this? And the answer was obvious. Like, we could only continue to bring on members of the team that share this distinct quality of having passion of place. So it's an essential part of the organization.
It's personal.
Yeah. More like key elements that we should think about and do, maybe.
Another thing that came up in our brand strategy was do differently. Like we were talking about before, the challenges that we face. And so always trying to think of sort of creative ways, like when one door closes, another one opens, that sort of thinking, like not just sitting idly and waiting for someone to return an email, but kind of showing up with a box of cookies and being like, hi, I'm here, let's do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, don't develop a strategy and let it sit on a shelf is another big one for us. Like, do a lot of thinking and then just be like, let's have a party for this thing that we've written, and that's it, and that's the level of it goes. We're constantly reviewing and talking about, the placemaking strategy, or reverting back to the place brand strategy to make sure that everything we're rolling out actually has a purpose. And so I think, don't just let your services continue without reviewing them, as Natalie says, and always don't have a strategy, gather dust.
Strategy is the easy part.
Yeah,
right.
Doing it,
and that's what we kind of pride ourselves on. I think that's what
we actually entered into doing this strategy. We're all anti-strategists because we're doers, and we just want to be on the ground making stuff happen. And it took a while for us to actually be like, okay, let's put pen to paper and actually sit down and do the strategy. But it took a lot of encouragement from different board members and stuff to say, actually, this is going to be a good idea. And it was transformative for our organization and us as professionals. Absolutely.
I think a strategy is good, like to have like a common ground, and then the doing part is what we usually like miss because we spend so much time in making this strategy.
When we approached Allies and Morrison, or when we, brought on Allies and Morrison, and we told them that we wanted it to be done in 3 months, there was kind of like a moment of silence where they were like, are they for real? For real? Like, that's the shortest timeline. And we were just like, yes, because we want to get to work.
Yeah.
So it was a match made in heaven because they were like, all right, so then let's get to work.
I think another thing that is, can be doing, and we've certainly improved on as a team, is impact measurement. So we've recently sort of signed up with the GLA and the Greater London Authority on an amazing high street dashboard, which gives us footfall and spend insights into our bid area. And so, as Natalie said before, we might be like the doers, let's just put an event on and let's see. And I say this because yesterday we had we finally got some spend data for a Christmas event that we do. We know the event is well received by the community. That's a big tick.
Yeah.
But I've always wondered how much inward investment does it bring, if any, And I sort of sat nervously whilst the number crunchers came to us with actually putting on a Christmas event in the graffiti tunnel I spoke about has brought 41% increase in spend across our entire bid area compared to a normal Thursday in Waterloo.
Wow.
And we've never been able to measure with that before. Data is expensive, right? So to know that when we do an event, on average, spend goes up by 20% compared to another day within that period, you can really be proud of what you're doing before you can say, you have a great events program. It's amazing. And there's lots of lovely pictures, and we raise money, but now you can say, no, which is important when we go for reballot. Actually, the stuff we put on will have a direct impact, hopefully, on your business. So
exactly.
Making sure you're measuring, and if something's not working, don't be afraid to scrap it. Like Natalie said, if that event wasn't doing anything for the local area, I'd have to fall on my sword and say, I know it brings the vibe, but maybe it doesn't bring the money. Whereas now I can say to partners, we need a sponsor for this, you need to put more money into this. This is just a bid thing. Why aren't you putting money into this? This is a thing you should invest in.
Yeah, I think if this measuring and evaluating is very important, because then you can see the value. If it's like only social or no economical as well, or ecological. Otherwise, as you mentioned, like maybe we think it's good, like people are happy and we show pictures, but it's not literally helping us to achieve a goal.
Exactly.
So this is also like very important, like this, the measuring data and also evaluating. If it works, doesn't work, next, something like this.
It's another more recent pivot for our organization. We really invested both on the personnel side in terms of, internal intelligence, as well as through services like this. So we recently, Harrie, didn't you present at a conference on bids and data recently because of the work that we've been doing?
We've been looking into bringing back our Saturday market. We have like a market street. We sort of went quiet with it during post-COVID. We thought we've got the market. Monday to Friday works really well. Saturdays, no. But with the data that we have access to now, we sort of saw that pre-pandemic, we're exceeding pre-pandemic footfall. So we should probably think about bringing back the market. And Zan, a colleague of ours, sort of put together a research proposal with the GLA on kind of whether data-wise it's a good idea to bring back the market. And he kind of came up with this hypothesis that looked at spend. He's forecasted like future spend and footfall, and the only way was up, really. So, yes, we presented. Zan presented first, and then we got asked by kind of the BID London group to present to other London bids about our work on this. And the upshot is we're doing it. Is we as much as we're like looking at the data and we've kind of changed tack there, it gives us again more kind of confidence to be we're doers because it says the data says so, as we should. So transformative kind of service that we invested in last year, I think. This other bids have used a service to kind of measure the realm security provisioning. So there's Monica. I'm looking forward to like tasking Zan, bless him, with more studies that he can sink his teeth into. He loves data.
Yes. So we talked about some challenges that we face, and talked about some key elements of how to make a success in a project. Tell us about things that we should stop doing when we work on a bid project, because maybe we do like new things and good things at the same time. We keep doing bad things or things that makes no sense. So what should we stop doing?
I think we as bids, I kind of touched on it earlier, but I think don't be afraid to fail at stuff. And just because you've invested, well, for us, we'll invest small amounts, test proof of concept, etc. And so we can take that risk. I think if something isn't working, we can kind of justifiably say we tried it hasn't worked, and we're going to try a different approach, or that was okay, but we can do better, and we can pivot and do something a little bit differently. I think there's no point kind of blindly sticking to your guns about a project or saying, well, we've invested so much, so we have to continue going. I think that can be sort of systemic just across, trying to improve a place where you've got these sunk costs and you think, well, we've just got to do it now. It's too late. I think it's important to recognize when stuff doesn't work, and then how do you then make that better, rather than try and improve something that isn't taking a direction or doesn't have the evidence to show that it is something of value or an improvement.
Yeah.
I think stop thinking that you know best sometimes, and don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone and go and visit other bids who do things differently and learn from other places and other teams. You may not be able to do everything because you have different budgets, but as Alex said, we have the flexibility to try something new and do differently. Don't be wed to an idea just because you've done it for 6 years. Learn from others. It's so important. It's so easy to not carve time out to go and visit your neighbours who have 4 hours on a train up north. But when you do, you'll come back with a revived kind of approach to your place, and a respect for the industry as a whole. I think it's getting out of your comfort zone is really important.
It's a great one. Yeah.
I think also, paying attention not to just bids, but other urban organizations, and taking cues from that. Like a lot of the guests that you have here on your podcast, just because we're a bid doesn't mean we only have to kind of stick within our industry to get inspired and influenced and stuff. Like we can think outside the box.
Yeah. And before we go to the last section of this episode, tell us, what are the needed skills in order to run a bid project? Like what do we need as skills?
Well, it's interesting because in terms of education, there really isn't, there's no like bid degree necessarily. The Institute for Place Management, which Harrie mentioned before, is that she chairs their place marketing working group. They do some level of focus on place management and that kind of thing. But all the people that work in bids come from completely varied backgrounds. But I think most bid projects have to kind of have a cross section of hitting all the important parts that bids should take care of. I mean, it's going to ebb and flow for the different projects, but Alex, as you could tell, is public realm and that type of thing. Harrie is more like place marketing. So the projects are going to be sort of a pie chart of these, a combination of many different things.
Yeah.
Creativity. You have to be creative. It sets us apart from, no shade to the councils, but we can be more creative because we can think quickly and think outside the box, Natalie says. So I think not just in place marketing, in public realm, have to really think creatively to get good value for money and kind of excitement and vibrancy in your place, I think.
Yeah.
And I think creative around finding solutions to problems. I think no one project has followed a very linear, straightforward approach. There's always been a hurdle that you don't expect, or someone that you have, someone that's brought in, you engage with them, and then they, have an idea or they suggest a direction, and you have to adapt and you have to kind of do that on the fly, quite regularly.
You're very good at that. I used to bring him create like issues I might have or like different things, so he's quite good at that.
Yeah. I just it keeps things really interesting when you obviously know what you're going to face to a certain extent, but each day is so completely different in terms of engagement, in terms of where projects are, in terms of the roadblocks that are put in front of you, and you have to just find a way around it because you've got a mandate to deliver a certain project. So I think being solutions orientated is really important. We don't really accept no for an answer if we have a mandate for a project.
I have an example of that actually. So we're wanting to screen the England games for the Euros on our market street. We have a kind of timed road closure on that street already. But one of the games starts at 7 p.m. And so it will go on likely till 10 p.m. Now our road closure, things have to stop by 9 p.m. We can't do any events at the time. So I was like, Alex, what do I do? This is going to be such a big game. Like, we know it's going to bring a lot of people. Someone spend. What do I do? And he was like, aren't Lambeth running car-free days? Like, they're only programs that we can apply. We can apply to the council, and they basically, you don't have to pay them for a license to kind of run the event. They put all the things through for you. We had a meeting with the team on Monday, and we said, the car-free day, what time can we run the event till? And they were like, you can have it for ages. You can have it a weekend of a road closure. We were like, fantastic. So then we don't have to pay the £3,000 that I think was what we would have to do if we wanted to do a road closure before. So saving the bid levy, saving the bid member the money, and also creative solution to a problem, working with our council, actually probably doing a bigger and better event, through that issue.
And it allows us, we're thinking of kind of reconfiguring the market street, the way in which the stalls are laid out, set up and collapsed each day. So the car-free day, having a earlier closure and a later closure allows us to kind of market, kind of play with ideas, see what happens.
Activations and then making with this road closure. Exciting.
So it throws up to what we've now got. We've now got over a 12-hour road closure, where normally we would just have 4 hours here, 4 hours there. So it presents nice opportunities to create these create a different kind of event. And
the council wanted us to do one with them, so it's kind of
And I think one main skill is, as what I understand from you, is like to love to work with people, as like teamwork, being a team player.
we're great. The team here is family. Really.
Yeah.
When we did the branding strategy work, we had to come up with one word that described kind of our feelings about the organization. And the word that we came up with was together, because together as a team, together with the community, it was very much togetherness.
Yeah. That's great. So now we are moving to the final section of this episode. 2 questions. The first one is, what is on your agenda for 2024? What is going to happen? Tell us.
I feel like I've mentioned 2 things already.
Yeah.
But Waterloo microsite, the kind of matching businesses with charities. That's hoping, I hope to launch that by the sort of spring, summertime. Really excited about that one, I think. Not least because it will remove Alex in my email inbox from, I've got 500 chairs, Harrie, where's my problem?
Hey.
So they can have closer conversation with businesses. And then, as I touched on, we're going to be doing some screenings of the Euros. It's a big summer of sport this year. We've got the Olympics, you've got Euros. So we're hoping to kind of bring the community together for free screenings of 2 England games. And also we have the South Bank nearby, which is a big skateboarding scene. So we're going to screen the women's and men's finals of the kind of skateboarding Olympic championship, which is something we've never done in the middle of the day, whilst our market is operating. So it's not something we have to sort of think about and an offer for the workers, really, which is not something we've done before. So that's exciting. I think they're things. Public art as well.
Yeah, and a big focus on public art as well. With having the station, sort of at the north area, we've got an awful lot of arches. There's a lot of railway infrastructure around what was until last year the busiest station in Europe. And arches notoriously difficult to manage. So alongside kind of longer term projects to improve lighting and etc., we're going to be the people on the ground, we're going to get artists, people that can create public art, to enliven and sort of improve a lot of spaces where they look a little bit grotty, a little bit run down, and attract a lot of graffiti, etc. So with those spots, so there'll be a big public art push from a public realm perspective.
Yeah, great. A lot of things going to happen, huh?
Always.
Yeah. And the final question in this episode is about you giving a message to our listeners. So I love to hear one message from each one of you, related to the topic or anything else you like to tell us about. So what is your takeaway message to us? We can start with you, Natalie.
Well, obviously, I think if you haven't yet been to Waterloo, run, don't walk, come visit us. When we were doing the placemaking strategy, it sort of came to light that Waterloo, when people come to London for the first time, if you're on a 6 or 7 day trip, Waterloo is the type of place that you visit on day 6. Once you've ticked all of the Buckingham Palace and those types of things off of your list. But we have so many hidden gems and treasures. So we have that truly local feel of a neighborhood. So it's not necessarily on the mental map of people visiting London or even Londoners themselves. But whenever we bring people and are able to kind of show them what we've got, they walk away happy, in awe, and then they bring their friends and their friends. So let's put it on the mental map.
Yeah. Thanks, Natalie. And Alex?
Come to Waterloo, obviously. We're waving the flag for Waterloo, so Natalie outlined it more eloquently than I could. But come to Waterloo and do stuff, get stuff done. As I can get. But no, it's really important, like we said, like having a strategy is great, having a long-term vision is great, but the difficult thing, is doing that. And that's what we within, placemaking is. That's the point of us, is to, put things into practice, to try stuff, to then learn from it, to try again. So I think doing is, the hardest bit and the most important bit, and it's a lot more that can be done.
And Harrie?
I think the big takeaway from me is who in your place can tell the story better than you can about your place. Pass the mic, pass them the mic and see the results. I think that is the best take home. And also, I think we as practitioners, we do a lot in the place we work. But what about if you bring that home where, in where I live, we don't have a BID, we don't have anything like it. We have a town council, I think. But I think recently I've been thinking I've got some skills. I'd love to improve my local area. What can we do to kind of improve where we live as well as where we work? Maybe, it's help residents that maybe don't have a voice as well.
Yeah. So thank you so much for inspiring us, for all the cool and good project that you're working with, and hopefully see you around in Europe somewhere, maybe in Placemaking Week next or this summer. So thanks a lot, Harrie. Thanks, Alex and Natalie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.